So this is getting started with Arduino. Who would say there are pretty much a beginner or total novice to Arduino? Okay, you are all in the right place. And who would say that maybe you know a little bit about Arduino, enough to be dangerous, intermediate? That's me. So, okay, so let us get started. What is Arduino and what is it good for? So, an Arduino is just a little computer. It's a little microcontroller, a computer on a board. And it's got inputs and outputs and a processor in the middle, right? So you can take inputs, you can run a little program to do something with that, and then you can have outputs. What can you use this for? You can prototype some cool, interesting new circuit. You can hack some old toy or some fun, cool project. And I think importantly, you can learn, right? So you could learn programming by starting up a programming environment and learning, or you could make a cool project that has a programming aspect, and then there's learning programming with a purpose. So for example, some just example projects, just to give some ideas. This project senses when somebody comes near. It has like a heat sensor to know, or some sort of visual sensor to know when somebody's near, right? That goes into an input, right? Then they have a program looking for that input, and then it's going to respond by making the scary monkey thing do that, right? So input, program, output. Or the secret knock gumball machine. There's actually one of these over at the maker tent. You have a secret knock, and only the right secret code will make the gumball show up. How does it work? Right, it's listening for your vibrations of a knock. That's your input once again. It's looking for that in the program, and the output fires a solenoid, a little electrical solenoid, to spit out a gumball. Or for example, a sun logger, right? So you can put this out and measuring sunlight. And an important aspect here, I'll explain analog and digital. Okay, so think for a moment about a digital input. Digital means 1 or 0, on or off, right? So it can tell if there is sunlight or enough light, or there is not enough light, and it'll give you either an on or an off. Analog can give you a range. It's kind of dark, it's getting brighter, it's brighter, it's brighter, it's full bright, right? So that when I talk about an analog value, you're going to get a range versus a 1 or a 0. Okay, where can you go to learn Arduino? I would say that one of the best places to go is online, and you can go to Arduino's own website, arduino.cc. They've got a reference, they've got examples. Really, I refer back to it often myself, okay? There are many other good online sites with people and examples. If you want to do it with an Arduino, someone's probably got an example there and you can learn from it. But also there are some good books. There's Getting Started with Arduino. If you like robots, I happen to love robots. Making an Arduino Controlled Robot is a great book by Michael Margolis. And there's an Arduino Getting Started kit as well. Again, you can find these over at the Maker Shed if you're interested. Okay, let me introduce you to the Arduino family. These are some of the main boards that you might get to choose from. Now there are quite a few boards to choose from. So what I'll tell you is if you just want to learn Arduino and get started, the Uno is a great choice. That's sort of your basic board. And I talked a little bit about inputs and outputs. So one of the main things that may make you choose one of these over another might be how many inputs and outputs I have. So the Uno has 14 digital, on or off, inputs. Those same inputs can be used as outputs. Only some of them can be used, I'll explain that something else in a second. It also has analog inputs, okay, only input. Now it's kind of lying to say that you can have an analog output, but what you do is they do something called pulse width modulation. Okay, instead of being on all the time, it's on in little digital pulses of on. And what you can use this for is, let's say, an LED or some sort of light. You want it to be not full on, a little dimmer. You don't actually lower the voltage that circuit receives. What you do is you pulse it on and off very fast. And so if you have this much time and it's got pulses and it's on for 50% of the time, then that's 50% PWM and the light is dim. 75% it'll be brighter, 100% it'll be full bright. That's how PWM works. So the Uno board has 6 PWM, of those 14 digital inputs, 6 of those can be PWM. And it runs at 5 volts. The mega, if you need a lot, if you have a project that needs a lot of inputs and outputs, the mega across diagonally down, that has 54 digital inputs and outputs, 15 of which can be PWM, and it has 16 analog inputs. So you can get light sensors or sound sensors or anything that might be a range of values. So that is a great board if you need to do a lot of that input and output work. It's the same speed, different processor, but the same speed. The other two on there, the Leonardo and the Due, let me take them at one at a time. They are different processors. The details aren't that important at this level, but the Leonardo, what is important is it's got a built-in USB capability, which it could be, again, a right project for you if it's for your project. Also, there's a concept of shields, which I'll explain in a minute. A shield is like an expansion board. You'll hear that word shield quite a bit in the Arduino world. It just means a board that fits right on top and interfaces with the Arduino. So some shields that use technology called SPI, and again, I'm not going to get into it, won't work on the Leonardo that will work on the Uno. So again, you're probably not a worry, but if you know that your project needs that, look into it before you buy. The other one, the Due, that runs, most of those other three boards run at 5 volts. Okay, an input signal is 5 volts, output's 5 volts. The Due is 3.3 volts. Some sensors work at 3.3 volts. If you are using the Due and you are feeding it a 5-volt signal, you may damage your board, or at least that pin. So that is what you need to be aware of with the Due. Okay, I'm going to talk about some other family members real quick. The Arduino robot is fairly new. It's a whole robot kit with the built-in sensors and board right on it. And on the other side is the Yun. This is also was new, announced in May at Maker Faire Bay Area, and available for sale for the first time in the US here at Maker Faire at the shed. So this joins not only the Arduino world and Linux, Unix, as well as Wi-Fi capability. So it's a cool board. A lot of people wanted to kind of be able to do Wi-Fi natively and have some Linux capability natively. The bridge that they're putting a lot of work into does that for you. I'm not going to go into a great deal of detail, but just to be aware that that's it. If that's something you need to play with, that's a Wi-Fi capability, you may want to look into the Yun. Okay, now there are just a couple more boards to talk about. The Explorer, the Arduino Ethernet, the LilyPad, the Micro, the Nano, the Mini, the Pro Mini, and the FIO. Everybody got that? No, you don't. All right, just very briefly, and again, if you just want to learn the Arduino, buy the Uno or one of those 4 boards, and you're fine. That's a great way to learn. If you have you might have a specific reason to choose one of these. The little purple round one, the LilyPad, is great for wearables or badges because you can actually sew it right to things. It's small, it's round, it's got a nice small form factor. So it was designed with that in mind. The Explorer, in the corner, that sort of oval-shaped one, that is just like the Leonardo, except it's got built-in sensors for interaction. So, you can actually have like little keypads on there to press with. So, again, maybe you want to make a little game controller or something. It might be a good place to start, right? You might choose it for that specific purpose. If you want to work with Ethernet, the main Uno, you can get an Ethernet shield and stick it on. But if you know that's where you want to start, you can get the Ethernet, the Arduino Ethernet, and you have it built in on the same board. The other ones, I'm not going to go into detail on the Micro, the Mini. They have different voltages, different things built in, different capabilities, smaller form factors. There's all different reasons why. I don't have time to explain each one, nor do I remember each one. But they're all documented on Arduino's website. If you go to products, and you can find out all you need to know about those. I will point out the FIO, which is on the bottom corner there. That has a wireless protocol called XB. If you don't know what that is, it's just a wireless protocol for communication. So again, if your project involves that, that's a reason to go that way. Okay, really quick. Here's the basic Arduino Uno board. You have your reset button. On the top are those digital I/O pins I referred to. The long chip there, that's the brain. On the bottom are those analog pins, as well as power pins where you can get power if you're sending it to another board or to a circuit. You can tap right into the power rail there. And then USB power, as well as how you program the board, as well as a DC power jack. You can power it like from your computer. A lot of times when you're working on it, you power it that way, and then you can run it off batteries or a wall jack later on. I told you about shields, right? There's all kinds of shields for all kinds of things. People make them, it's open source, they can design a shield. This one you see here, you can prototype on. It's just a bare board. You can get one with a breadboard, so you can breadboard populate it and do whatever you want. Just slaps on it, just means an expansion board. What you need a computer, you need a cable, and you need your Arduino. It's got its own little programming environment. It's like a C-like programming structure. If you're new to programming, it's actually not that hard, and there's a lot of help and examples out there for you. If you're already familiar with programming and you know any C-like language, you'll find it very comfortable. What Arduino has done is they've hidden some of the more complicated stuff inside libraries. And if you don't care to delve into that, but you want to know how to, you want to control a robotic servo or a motor, people have written the libraries, they've done that work for you, and you don't have to worry about it. If you do want to worry about it, it's all open source. You can dig in and write your own library, you can modify a library, so you can kind of dive in at the level of experience you want. Install the software. Oh, the Hello World. If you're a programmer, you know what Hello World is. It's like the first program you ever write is Hello World. The Blink program is the Arduino equivalent. You download it and the LED on board will blink. Then from there, change the blink rate. Use PWM and make it fade brighter and dimmer. This is where you learn to program. Loading a sketch is very easy. There are examples. You choose the board that you're using. You choose the USB port that you're connected to. You load up your program, compile it, and push it out. Your board resets, and then it runs. That's it. Do I have time for questions? I got 1 minute if anybody has any questions. One question from a young gentleman right there. Speak up. You can download it for free off of Arduino's website. Any other questions real quick? No? Oh, one more. Say it one more time, sorry. It's like very, very, very C-like. All right, I think that's all we have time for. Thank you all very much, and have a great Maker Faire.